As a beginner in any craft, you're going to be confronted with this extremely frustrating gap between the vision in your head and your technical ability. I know because I've been there, and in many ways I'm still there, like playing the piano. And unfortunately, in a commercial landscape, you more than likely be tempted to just throw money at the problem, aka buy more gear.
Grab onto the handle at a low price for dry self-time.
But really, every beginner only needs 5 things to make great videos. You need a good story, clean audio, you need decent lighting, a camera, obviously. Any camera past 2001, any camera with a 1-inch sensor should do just fine. And you need a place to edit. And if you're looking for suggestions for any of these, I'm your guy. And you're in the right place. Maybe.
That's why we all always have our shit when we come here, but I'm not gonna have it on my waist, on my hip. I like black potato.
The thing is, everybody has a story to tell. My biggest problem was that even though I had all these interesting episodes in my life, I was struggling to package and deliver it well. But after so many years of experimenting, I came up with a simple guide to build a great story every time. In fact, I'm using it right now, and it starts by asking 2 simple questions. Who am I talking to, and what do I have to say? So when I say a story, I'm not really talking about a complicated narrative. I'm just referring to all the stuff that's happening in the video. So we'll take my cousin Namdi, for example. He makes beats, but that's just one part of his life. He's also a student, a self-proclaimed mechanic, and most recently, some kind of graffiti artist. I'm not sure what's going on there. But in his case, if we start off by asking those 2 questions, we can extract a compelling story from the everyday experiences. Again, it doesn't have to be a narrative. It's just a general direction. So who could he be talking to? Well, maybe somebody interested in making beats. And what would he say? How to get beats from classic video game sound effects, where to get musical inspiration, the process from start to finish, or maybe even a slice of life, juggling music and school away from home. If you ask yourself clear questions, you get a clear answer and build a solid story. I have not seen this much snow since I was in Kentucky doing Epic. My head too. But anyway, I came out to take some pictures because it looks very beautiful, and Georgia never looks like this. I'm using my Fujica SCX. The one thing with this though is that in the snow is very white, and so it might throw off the light sense on the inside, and so my pictures might come out really overexposed or underexposed. I'm not sure yet. All right, take a look at this graph. I'm always surprised at how a lot of philosophical concepts can be captured in mathematical equations. So right here, that's my boss. Good message. Okay, right here is the law of diminishing marginal returns. On the x-axis is the input, so the stuff you put in, the time and effort. And on the y-axis is the output, the results. You'll notice that at the beginning, for increases in the input, you're getting noticeably larger returns. So changing from 1 to 2 gives you a great increase in the actual results you receive. You also notice that for larger increases in the effort, you get noticeably smaller returns. So going up to 4 from 3 doesn't give you that much of a difference in what you're actually seeing. And the same thing is true with lighting, video, and audio equipment. There's so many factors and so many distractions. It's difficult to figure out where to invest your time and resources. But there's this sweet spot somewhere in the middle. And that's what you call the best value for your money. That's what I'll be showing you for each of those categories I just mentioned. Okay, let's start with audio. If you don't have decent audio, your project is going to fall apart. So to avoid that, there's a few key things to look for. You always want the mic to be close to the audio source, and you want to try and reduce as much background noise as possible. In some occasions, I had to unplug my fridge because of that hum sound it makes. Now these sound like simple suggestions, but you'll be surprised just how much of a difference it makes. I've simplified my system to this lav mic transmitter combo. So I can bring the mic right up close to my face without much distraction. And the transmitter helps me move away from the camera without losing audio quality. This is the sweet spot to handle 90% of your audio needs as a one-man band. And here are a few of my recommendations, not sponsored in any way. There's the DJI Mic 1 system. I don't have this one, but it's similar to this DJI Mic 2. In this case, I just have the transmitter and a lav mic, but it works perfectly fine. There's also this Rode Wireless Go 2 combo, similar to the Wireless Go 1, just a few extra stuff. I got this off eBay for $100 less than retail. And finally, there's the Tascam DR10L. I also don't have this one, but I've heard good things. All these options are under $120. So if you're paying more, then you're probably just paying for bells and whistles. Convenient stuff like a charging case, syncing audio to video, maybe a safety channel, but for everything in the consumer to prosumer range, for all the non-Hollywood equipment, the audio that you're going to get from them is mostly similar. Unless you know about frequency responses and you're really diving in, you won't notice a difference. So moving on, the third most important piece to a good video is decent lighting. Not necessarily lighting equipment, just lighting techniques. So here in the apartment, I have this huge balcony window that serves as a giant light source. And with one window, I can essentially light myself from the front, from an angle, or from behind. And a rule of thumb I generally follow is to have the light coming in at the angle. So light and dark. And I usually like having practical lights in the background. They're not necessarily lighting the subject, but they're creating interesting pockets of light in the back. So what am I saying? Go to estate sales, go to thrift stores and get a lot of lamps. This is just one way of doing it, but remember, we are adding building blocks piece by piece. Story, audio, lighting. And now for the elephant in the room, the camera. Now, I'm not going to tell you that gear doesn't matter, because I think it does. But just remember that graph from the beginning with the efforts and value trade-off. I am going to tell you though that a lot of things that are advertised on the camera actually don't matter. For example, if you're shooting 4K video, that's 8,200,000 pixels or 8 megapixels. So when your camera says 48 megapixel sensor, it can only shoot 8 megapixel video because of the file sizes. Now there's ways to work around that, but generally that's what's happening. On top of that, the sensor size and the bit depth mean that not all 48 megapixel cameras are the same. That's why an iPhone can't stand up to even a cheap DSLR. The larger sensor size is what gives you that creamy background, which I think is overrated. And the higher bit depth is like adding colors in between colors so that the camera can capture color gradients closer to what we can see. So for me, the ideal camera is anything above a 1-inch sensor that shoots 8-bit video, 10 bits if you want more latitude with color grading, and preferably a log picture profile. Not necessary, but it just helps with creative freedom. And just to prove it to myself, I switched from this Sony a6400 camera to this very tiny DJI Osmo Pockt 3. I don't know if you can see that. And yeah, for every video I've made this year, that's what I've used. Now the camera is the most important, not the most important, I'm sorry, the most expensive part of this kit, but it should be the last thing you get. All right, let's recap. If you want to make videos in 2025, and it's only getting easier, these are the absolute lowest benchmarks that you need to get amazing results as a beginner. You absolutely need a story, a direction, an idea of who you're talking to and what you're trying to say. Then you need clean audio, because no matter how good or bad your video is, it won't matter if your audio is too distracting or difficult to understand. Then you need to understand lighting fundamentals. A great expensive camera can't make up for bad lighting. It can, but it's not good practice. But good lighting can make iPhone footage look premium. Finally, the camera. I'm always hesitant to tell people to shoot with their iPhones, but if you do good on the first 3, then the newer iPhones should be able to get you the rest of the way. It's going to snow tomorrow. And if you know Americans, especially people in Georgia, we always overreact when there's snow. So groceries are like bought out at the stores. People are expecting 8 inches of snow. We've driven to Hannah's parents' house at 12 a.m. because we are scared that our own power is going to go out. I'm tired and hungry.
Across the southeastern Florida and mild weather from the desert southwest towards southern California. Increased fire danger will be possible once again there for the Los Angeles area, with strong winds and dry conditions ongoing. Now across the northeast, we will see cold weather continuing to dominate the forecast here across this region, but we will see increasing snow chances there from the Great Lakes down towards the Mid-South and the Mississippi River. We'll still see some cold air there across the northern plains, but most of the snowfall will work its way off to the east.
Kissy, kissy, Roxanne, did you miss me? I'll take you out to dinner after I've eaten this pipsqueak. And when we're on vacation, I'll let him house sit. Here's a couple bucks. Buy yourself a better outfit.
You finished?